Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Maya Purnabadi Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya ki jai. Shrimati Tulsi Devi ki jai. Shrimati Bhakti Devi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samveda Bhaktivinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Reading from the 10th canto, chapter 43, text number 17. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Malanam asanir nrinam naravada strinam smarto murtiman. Malanam asanir nrinam naravada Strinang smarto murtiman. Gopanam swajano satang shiti bhujam shasta svaprito shishu. Gopanam swajano satam chiti bhujam shasta swapitro sishu. Amrityo bhojapater virad avidusham Tattvam param yoginam. Mrityur bhojapate virada vidusham Tattvam param yoginam. Vishninam padadevate tividito rangam gata sagraja.
Vishninam padadevate tividito rangam gata sagraja.
Vishninam padadevate tividito Rangam gata sagraja.
Krishnam padadevate tividito rangam gata sagraja.
Mulanam ashanenrinam naravada Strinam smarto murtiman. Gopanam swajano satang shiti bhujam shasta swapitro sishu. Mrityurbhojamate virada vishutam tattvam param yoginam. Vrishninam paradevate vidito rangam gata sagraja. Anyone else? Malana Shamina Madhavara Srimad Bhoganam Swajano Satam Panipuja Shasta Swapitro Sishu Mrityurpo Japate Virada Vijurasam Tattvam Param Yogina Krishnam Paradevate Vidato Rangam Gata Sagraja Malana Masanir Midam Naravara Strinam Smaro Murtima Opanam Svajano Satam Siti Bucha Shasta Svapikro Sishu Mrityurbo Japate Virada Virusham Tattvam Param Yogina Mahalanam Asanir Nrinam Naravara Strinam Smaro Murtimam Gopanam Swajano Satam Shati Bhujam Shasta Swadputro Vishu Krishnam Paradevati Vidito Ladies? Namasinam Naravada. Chapatir virada vivisham tatvam padam yoginam. Malanam for the wrestlers. Ashani, lightning. Nrinam for the males. Nardavadaha, the best of men. Strinam for the women. Smaraha, Cupid. Murtiman, incarnate. Gopanam for the cowherds. Svajanaha, their relative. Asatam, impious. Shitibhujam for the kings. Shasta, a punisher. Swapitaro for his parents. Shishu, a child. Mrityu, death. Bojapate, for the king of the Bojas. Kamsa, Virat, the totality of the material universe. Avidushan, for the unintelligent. Tattvam, the truth. Padam, supreme. Yoginam, for the yogis. Vrishninam, for the members of the Vrishni dynasty. Paradevata, their most worshipful deity. Iti, in these ways. Viditaha, understood. Rangam, the arena. Gataha, he entered. Sa, along with. Agrajaha, his elder brother. Translation. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as lightning bolt, the men of Mathura as the best of males, the women as Cupid in person, the cowherd men as their relative, the impious rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of the Bojas as death, the unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form, the yogis as the absolute truth, and the Vrishnis as their supreme worshipful deity. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami quotes the following verse, which explains the 10 attitudes towards Krishna described here. Rudra bhutas cha sringaro hasyam biro dhayatata bhayan nakas cha bhibhatsaha shanta sa prema bhaktikaha. There are 10 different moods: fury, perceived by the wrestlers; wonder by the conjugal attraction, the women; laughter, the cowherds; chivalry, the kings; mercy, his parents; terror, Kamsa; ghastliness, the unintelligent; peaceful neutrality, the yogis; and loving devotion, the Vrishnis. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that persons like the wrestlers, Kamsa, and the impious rulers perceive Krishna as dangerous, angry, or threatening because they fail to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead. Actually, Lord Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher, but because we rebel against him, he chastises us, and thus we may perceive him as threatening. Krishna, our God, is actually merciful, and when he punishes us, that is also his mercy. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes the following Vedic statement: Raso bhai sa rasam yeva yam labdavanandi bhavati. He himself is ras, the taste or mellow of a particular relationship, and certainly one who achieves this ras becomes anandi, filled with bliss. Taittiriya Upanishad 271. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati quotes a further verse to explain the word ras. Vyatitya bhavana vartma yas chamatkar bhada bhuha hridhi sattvojvala bhaddham swadate sa rasumataha. That which is beyond imagination, heavy with wonder, and relished in the heart, shining with goodness, such is known as ras. As Srila Rupa Goswami elaborately explains in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are 5 main rasas: neutrality, servitude, friendship, parental love, and conjugal love, and 7 secondary rasas: amazement, humor, chivalry, compassion, fury, fear, and dread. Thus together there are 12 rasas, and the supreme object of them all is Sri Krishna himself. In other words, our love and affection are actually meant for Krishna. Unfortunately, out of ignorance, we stubbornly try to squeeze happiness and love out of material relationships, which are not directly connected to Krishna, and thus life becomes a constant frustration. The solution is simple: surrender to Krishna, love Krishna's devotees, and be happy forever. Om Ajnanatinmanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmaditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gade Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramanandamaravam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. So, in this particular pastime, we see Krishna is entering into Mathura, and he is, appreciating the different aspects of this town of Mathura. He was raised in a village. In the village, there's no buildings, no big palatial buildings, simple, taking care of cows. So he's come to Mathura, and hearing this festivities in the arena, he goes towards the arena. And there he encounters this Kuvalyapida, the elephant, who is instigated by Kamsa to kill Krishna. And the Mahotra was prodding the elephant to attack Krishna. Of course, Krishna easily kills the huge elephant and takes the tusk from the elephant and enters into the arena. So when Krishna comes into the arena, he's got this tusk over his shoulder, the tusk of the elephant, which in itself is a pretty shocking thing for some of the persons in the arena. If you ever gone to the dentist, and if he pulls out a tooth, does it hurt? I mean, the dentist really has to pull with his strength to get the tooth out. So can you imagine what kind of strength it takes to take an elephant's tusk out? So much strength. But Krishna easily did that. Very easily. And then take this huge tusk and beat the elephant with it and beat the Mahot. Finish them. So, this is the pastimes of Krishna. They're always wonderful. No ordinary person can do such a thing. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna enters into the arena, and everyone in the arena, it's explained here in this verse, sees him in a different way. Everyone has a unique relationship with Krishna and appreciates Krishna from different ways. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, all of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So according to our faith in Krishna, according to our surrender to Krishna, we perceive Krishna differently. So the process of bhakti is to bring us to the platform of surrendering to Krishna. All the activities that are performed in devotional service are to bring us to surrender unto Krishna. Now, to surrender to Krishna is no small thing. It's not so easy thing to do, because for so many lifetimes, unlimited lifetimes, we have avoided surrendering to Krishna. We have done anything but surrender to Krishna. So when we take up devotional service, it requires guidance, right? Therefore, Krishna suggests in the Bhagavad Gita that you approach a tattva darshana, someone who has already surrendered to Krishna, and that person you render service to and inquire from, and he can guide you. That's the process. On our own, it's not possible to come to the platform of surrendering to Krishna. Pure devotional service, Srila Rupa Goswami describes in the Nectar Devotion, is very rare. It's not such an easy thing to obtain. And certainly on our own efforts, it will be impossible to obtain love for Krishna. It requires guidance from Krishna's pure devotees, and it requires association with Krishna devotees to engage in the different processes of devotional service, like Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. This is the real basis of devotional service, is to hear about Krishna. to chant Krishna's holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. To hear about Krishna's Leela, Krishna's pastimes, as this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is delineating all the various pastimes of Krishna, and to remember Krishna's form. So as we become purified from our material association, these activities, chanting Krishna's name, remembering Krishna's pastimes, appreciating Krishna's form, they become more and more relishable, to the point where the pure devotees of the Lord, they don't want to do anything else. We see in the example of the gopis, they were so attached to seeing Krishna's beautiful form that they cursed Lord Brahma. They said, "What kind of a creator is this? He's created eyes that blink. Right? And when the eyes blink, we can't see Krishna. So why did he do like this?" This is the mood of the pure devotees of the Lord. They're always absorbed in Krishna. So we're many, it would appear, many lifetimes away from such a platform of attraction to Krishna. But actually, through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's extremely merciful and extremely interested that all living entities develop their Krishna consciousness and become pure and enter into rasa as described here. Various rasas are there. The 5 main rasas are neutrality, friendship, servitorship, friendship, and parental affection and conjugal affection. And then there's other relationships too that the members in the arena were experiencing when they saw Krishna. So we're meant to be in one of these relationships. We have one of these relationships. It's there. It's not that Krishna consciousness comes from somewhere else. It's innate in the heart of every living entity. Srila Prabhupada gives the example that at a certain age, a child has the ability to walk, right? Naturally. And with a little practice, the child can walk. When Srila Prabhupada was staying at the house of Sally Agarwal in Butler, Pennsylvania, they had a small child. And there's a photograph of Srila Prabhupada with a very big smile on his face. And he was helping that small boy who took his first step. Right? Very nice photograph of Srila Prabhupada. So, the child can walk at a certain age, and with a little help, the child begins to walk. Right? So devotional service is like that. In our hearts, there's a natural attraction for Krishna. It's natural. It doesn't come from somewhere else. It's natural. Why? Because we're part and parcel of Krishna. Right? We're part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivangsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. Eternally, we're part and parcel of Krishna. And the process of devotional service is meant to purify our hearts and to reawaken that natural propensity of loving Krishna. And this is done chiefly in the age of Kali, through the chanting of his holy name, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This is the point. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the Nectar of Devotion that we shouldn't miss the point. If we do so many things in Krishna consciousness, but don't develop love for Krishna, then we miss the point. And we can very easily miss the point. Right? It's not about anything else. Yes, we make big temples because Prabhupada said that if I'm sitting under the tree, no one will come. Right? But if I make a big temple, then people will come. So the point is, we want people to come so that they'll be able to hear about Krishna, see the form of Krishna, get some prasadam, so they'll become purified. This is the idea. They may buy some books, but I may think something else. I may build a big temple and think, oh, I made a big temple, I'm a big mahant, so many people are worshiping me, so many people think I'm great, right? I give the class and say, oh, Prabhuji, such a nice class. And I think, yes, I gave a nice class. We can miss the point. Totally miss the point, which is to develop love for Krishna. So it can be a great advantage on one hand, but if we miss the point, it can be a huge stumbling block to our Krishna consciousness. Okay? Therefore, Prabhupada's warning in the Nectar of Devotion, don't miss the point. The point is to love Krishna. Now, when we worship the deity, the deity is non-different from Krishna. He's taken this form so that we can interact with him. If I'm not completely pure, how can I know Krishna? How can I understand who Krishna is? Just like when Krishna went into the arena, they saw him in different ways. Right? Kamsa saw him as death personified. Right? So the deity is established so that we can render service to Krishna in a form that we can handle. Right? We can make garlands for the Lord, cook for the Lord, dress the Lord, and in this way become purified, gradually realizing that this is Krishna. Just as Krishna is non-different from his holy name, in the same way, Krishna is non-different from his form. And for the devotees who render service to the form of the Lord, gradually they realize that. As much realization that we have that the deity is Krishna, right? As much realization that we have as that the deity is non-different from Krishna, that much realization we would have if Krishna was to walk in the door right now. We would all see differently according to our realization, just as the people in the arena saw differently. So we're performing these devotional service and rules and regulations, with various rules and regulations, so that we can appreciate that, yes, the deity form, the form of the Lord, is non-different from the Lord. Shastra says, if we see the deity in the temple as stone or wood, that we have a hellish mentality. Mhm. So bringing our hellish mentality to a purified platform, the process is this devotional service, the Nava Bhakti. And one who does this devotional service, or one who is perfect, who has perfected devotional service, they're the most famous. They become the most famous. Right? Although they're not after fame, but they become famous. We know so many politicians, so many rich persons. A rich man has to struggle very hard to develop his wealth. But after he dies, he goes one way and his wealth goes another way. Right? His name and fame and his claim to fame, it all disappears. And there must have been so many rich persons at the time of when Krishna entered to the arena Mathura, but are we remembering any of them? No. But still the devotees of Krishna, the cowherd boys, the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, Devaki, Vasudev, still we're remembering them, is it not? Many politicians came, right? And they some of them commented on Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, I think means this and I think means that. Right? But who's reading that politician's Bhagavad Gita today? Huh? But here we see Srila Prabhupada in a very humble position, comes to America, right, to preach Krishna consciousness, a pure devotee of Krishna. He gives Bhagavad Gita as it is, not his own idea, but what he heard from the Guru Parampara system. And that Bhagavad Gita is distributing. Even after he's left this world, still people are reading, appreciating, distributing Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is the fame of a pure devotee of Krishna. And after so many hundreds of years, people will still be reading Bhagavad Gita as it is and benefiting, changing their lives. Just as we see in America, Srila Prabhupada went to the place of the Malecha, meat eaters, completely uninterested in Vedic life. But yet he changed so many. And many of them changed just by reading Bhagavad Gita. Changed their lives. This is the power of pure devotional service. You want to become famous? Be a pure devotee. You'll be the most famous. Although a devotee is not interested in fame. You want to be the wealthiest? Who's the wealthiest person? Right? Somebody who's rich in bhakti. Somebody who has bhakti, they're the richest person. Who have love for Krishna, who have attraction for Krishna's name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Who has attraction for Krishna's form and who has attraction for Krishna's pastimes. So, the more we become fixed in this goal. If you want to go somewhere, first of all, you have to know where you're going. Right? You have a goal to achieve. Then you can get there. So in devotional service, the goal is to develop love for Krishna, nothing else. Right? Everything else is a diversion. It's a detour. Right? So let us not become detoured. Let us not become diverted. Let us remain fixed in the goal to obtain pure devotional service, attraction for Krishna, so that at the end of this life, we'll be able to go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? You got the mic?
Hare Krishna. First of all, I offer my humble obeisance to your lotus feet, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have one question, Prabhuji. I hear so many lectures in that if Krishna not created this Maya illusion, so we try to reach their lotus goal. Why Krishna created this Maya illusion?
Why did Krishna create Maya or illusion?
Prabhuji.
Because we wanted that Maya and illusion. So Krishna created it for us. Krishna is the supreme worshipable object. But for those who don't want to surrender to Krishna, they have to be somewhere. Right? Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And for those who think that they would also like to be the enjoyer, they have to go somewhere. Right? They can't be in the spiritual world because there, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. So Krishna creates a place for people, for living entities that want to try to be the supreme enjoyer. They can never be the supreme enjoyer, but they can imagine that they will be the supreme enjoyer. So therefore he creates the material world. Why? Because of our desires. Right? Just, there's always going to be living entities that are not surrendered to Krishna. So that's a place. Just Prabhupada describes that when they make a city, they make a jail. Like in Bombay, it's the Arthur Road Jail. Right? Sometimes we go there and give Bhagavad Gitas, Arthur Road Jail. Now, it's not that the government wants there to be criminals, but they know there's going to be criminals. So they make a place where they can keep the people that don't want to follow the laws. Right? In the same way, it's not that Krishna wants us to be here in the material world, but because the living entity doesn't want to surrender to Krishna, they want to try to compete with Krishna. That's what we're doing. We're trying to compete with Krishna. So he makes a place where they can imagine that they're competing with Krishna. You understand? It's not Krishna's fault that we're here in the material world. It's our own fault. But he also gives a process by which we can get out of the illusionary material world, and that's the process of devotional service. And it's chiefly done by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for wonderful class. There's one question to you, Prabhuji. You mentioned one wonderful point in your lecture that many times in our devotional service, we are doing things and we are not focusing on loving Krishna. And many times as a youth, as a student, we are hearing from our seniors that whatever we are doing, we have to do very expertly to please Krishna. And that way, we are whatever we are doing, whatever we are pursuing in our life, that we are so much engrossed in doing things so much expertly by studying, by doing something. But we are not able to focus to how to love Krishna. There is any parameter for that by which we come to know that we are developing some love and some attraction towards Krishna.
Well, Prabhupada said, if you're actually doing something for Krishna, you'll think of Krishna. If you're actually doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, you'll think of Krishna. Like a man, he may go to his office, but he's doing that for his family, going to the office, doing the work, right? So while he's in the office doing his work, still he thinks of his family, right? Out of affection. So in the same way, we may have many activities that we do, but if we're actually doing it for Krishna, we'll think of Krishna. So that takes some practice, but ultimately that's the goal, and that's the point of Krishna consciousness, to do things for the pleasure of Krishna, and if you do, you'll think of Krishna. Vijay Madhava has a question. Pass it back, pass the microphone back. Keep it going back.
Hare Krishna. So actually, it was a very, very similar point to what the question was asked. So if you're doing things initially mechanically, how do we track that we are not missing the point? So actually, I had a very, very similar question. So.
Well, we can do things mechanically, and we often do things mechanically. But if you're doing the right things mechanically, we can hope that we'll, instead of doing it mechanically, do it with some real devotion and feeling. So there's always that hope. But we need to regularly hear also as to what the ultimate goal is. So we can recognize if we're doing things just mechanically and aspire to do things out of love or out of devotion. Of course, to get to that platform, there's no material means or that you can do, just like if you're chanting the holy name, to realize that name is non-different from Krishna. That requires the mercy of Krishna and the mercy of Krishna's devotees. And to recognize that we need that mercy, that's a very important stage in devotional service. First, to recognize the goal, and then to recognize that I need mercy. And we become like transcendental beggars. We're beggars. We're begging for the mercy, all the time begging. Right? Tridandi Bhikshu. We're beggars. We're begging for the mercy. We're bankrupt. We don't have mercy. Just like somebody who doesn't have money. They're reduced to just begging, give me something. Right? So we're like that. Stuck in this material world for so many lifetimes, not understanding what we should do, what we shouldn't do, right? Now we've come to devotional service, we're doing the right things, chanting, hearing about Krishna, which is keeping us above the lower modes of material nature, passion and ignorance. It's brought us to the level of goodness. But we can't become complacent there because it's not the goal. But to get from that goodness platform to actually developing attachment to the holy name, Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, we require mercy. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, Namo Mahabhanandaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitan, Namane Goratishe Namaha. He's the manifestation of that mercy. Krishna has one nature. He has his compassionate nature, and that is the form of Radharani, the Halandini Shakti. Extremely merciful, extremely kind. Radharani, she gets more pleasure when the other gopis engage with Krishna than she does when she directly engages with Krishna, because she's so kind, she's so merciful. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken that mood of mercy, that compassionate mood of Srimati Radharani. He's non-different, Krishna himself, but he's in the mood of Radharani, give mercy. So we can try to attract the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the thing is, the more you give, the more you get. Right? In the material world, the more you grab and don't give anybody else, the more you get. Right? Corner the stock market, don't let so many things, right? But in the spiritual world, it's different. The more you give, the more you get. So if you give mercy, people are in ignorance. They have no idea what is the goal of life. They have money, they have wealth. There's the BBT, there's another BBT. That's called big boy toys, right? They got a BMW, they got a Mercedes-Benz, BBT, big boy toys. What is the value of that? Zero. They're going to die. They're going to take birth again. Again, they have to suffer so many trials and tribulations. But we can give them mercy. We can give them Srila Prabhupada's books. We can give them prasadam. We can ask them to chant the holy name. And if we give, then we can expect to get. And that's what will bring us over the top to actually coming to the platform of having attraction for the holy name, having attraction for Krishna's form, and not missing the point of being a devotee. Is that okay? Hare Krishna.
I have a question and a comment. The question is, we're talking about developing love of Godhead, love of Krishna. What is that love of Krishna? And the comment on this one is, that was doing things mechanically. So long as we are in conditioned stage, whatever we are doing is mechanically we are doing. But the objective is transcendental. We are doing for Krishna. Thus we get purified. Once Garg Muni Prabhu was saying that in beginning, he was not feeling like offering obeisance to Prabhupada. And he asked Prabhupada that why are you forcing us to offer obeisance? It's we are doing very mechanically. Prabhupada smiled and said, keep doing. One day we feel like doing. So when we get purified, we feel like doing. So that was the comment. But the question still remains that.
Yeah,
what do you mean
so
by love of God?
love for Krishna. Even Lord Brahma is trying to understand. Even Lord Shiva is trying to understand. So for us to understand is not an easy thing. It's like the small child trying to grab the moon, or for a dog to swim across the ocean. Not so easy thing to understand what is love for Krishna. But it's possible. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the mercy of his pure devotees, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, it's possible to understand. But we should strive for that. We should know that this human form of life is meant for that. To understand what is this love for Krishna. What makes Mother Yashoda do the things she does? and the cowherd boys to be so much enamored by Krishna and want to play with him all day. That to be able to enter into that understanding is the goal that we should strive for, and it's possible by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and association with the devotees. That's why Srila Prabhupada formed this International Society for Krishna Consciousness specifically so that we could reach that goal. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.